Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to learn about this opportunity that we have here. I want to be conscious of everybody's time, and so I'm going to move through this fairly quickly. If you've got questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I'll try to get to them. Otherwise, we can always touch base afterwards. Hang on one second. I got to start this video here. All right, so let's see. Before we get started, quick disclaimer. We're going to be talking about numbers and finance and investments. And the disclaimer is that you can lose money in any investment that you make, okay? Whether it's real estate, the stock market, crypto, buying a business, everything that we say here is a projection, okay? And very rarely, actually never, does an investment actually produce exactly what you project. It always comes in over or above, but that is the disclaimer. I am not selling an investment here, and there are no specific guarantees in anything that you do or may do with me in the future. So a little bit about what we're going to go over today. I'm going to give you an overview of the investment. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and PRS Properties, what we do, what's our strategy, a little bit about why I'm really excited about this deal specifically. And then I've got a lot of good information about the Phoenix market and the local market in general. And then we'll talk about next steps if it's something that you're interested in pursuing. So quick overview of the property. Here's a little video to the side, drive-by of the exterior. But basically it is a 24 unit property. There's a total of 4 buildings, and each building has 6 units. Of those 6 units, there's 4 2-bedroom, 1 baths and 2 studios. So the total property has 16 2-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1 baths and 8 studio units. We are buying it for $110,000 per door, which puts the purchase price at about $2.6 million. We've got favorable seller financing, which I'll talk a little bit more a little bit later on, but we're getting 70% loan to value at 5.5% interest. We'll be doing some value add renovations and key upgrades, but not actually too much upgrades on this property. And it's a nice one that we're excited about. The way that we structure this is we do a joint venture, okay? So we create a new entity, and all of the partners are actually members in the entity, and that is how we do these. It is multifamily. It is located in a prime location of Apache Junction at an amazing price, and we're offering 7% preferred return for partners who contribute $250,000 and up. And we'll get into the financials a little bit more as we move through. Okay, so this is an off-market property. I generally don't like to buy properties on market. That's where you sell them to the retail investors. I scoop them up off market. The unique thing about this is they actually sought me out as the buyer because they know I have a proven track record, and specifically a proven track record in the area. I actually own 2 other properties within a mile or so of this, which just creates more economies of scale. It is a 1985 build, all single story, no stairs. It will be 100% vacant when we buy it, which allows us to go in right away and get things done quick and then lease it up. Basic A-frame roofing, which is always a bonus for me. I love shingle A-frame roofing because they last the longest and they're the cheapest to maintain, especially when you compare them to some of the flat roofs that you see out here in Phoenix. It's got a coin-op laundry set up in the back of each building. And well, I utilize a third-party management company that is, they professionally manage it and I asset manage it. Okay, so a little bit about PRS, which is our real estate holding company and management company, and a little bit about me. So I've been self-employed since 2007, and I've had a number of business ventures, some more successful than others, but over the course of 17 years, you learn a lot. But my other main company right now is Envision Painting and Roofing. And well, I call it my main company because, it's basically become a supporting arm to my real estate venture. And so that company produces a lot of the capital improvement projects that we do. We've got control of the crews and the pricing. But for the last 15 or so years out here in Phoenix, I've been buying income property one at a time, sometimes two or three at a time. And over the course of that time frame, it's built up to be a really nice portfolio. And I've also just discovered that my passion lies in real estate. And so that is where I spend the bulk of my time right now and energy. But along the way, I've done some pretty cool things. Last year, I co-authored a book, which became a #1 bestseller on Amazon. And a few years ago, we got awarded the Inc. 5000 award. And I actually bought and sold a pest control company, which we started in 2020 and exited in 2023. And that leads me to here. So a little bit about our real estate portfolio and track record. Right now, I currently own and control, well, over 22 properties. We've got 65 tenants. The monthly rent roll is exceeding $80,000 a month. And I also invest passively with other operators that do what I do, actually just on a larger scale, and they only do mobile home parks. And so I own a small slice of about 1,000 or so mobile home park pads. 5 years to freedom was kind of like a big, hairy, audacious goal that I set for myself back in 2018. And I had the dream to become financially free and have time freedom and work because I want to, not because I have to. And after 4 years of 100% dialed in focus on that, I was able to achieve that goal. And, it's really just the beginning once you get there. But what it did was allow me to realize, where do I want to spend my time? What gives me purpose and fulfillment? What do I enjoy, and what makes the most difference to my life? And a lot of that was me coming to this realization that I wanted to spend 80% or more of my energy in real estate. And so that's what brings me here. And I want to help share that with as many people as I can. So along the lines, you build up a team. Part of the reason why I love real estate is you don't have to have a huge team of employees, but you get to work with a bunch of amazing other business owners. And so my team consists of a lot of vendors, and they all run their own operations, and they do it pretty well. And clearly, running a business this long, you've got to go through, hire and fire different vendors, try them out. And after 15 years, this is kind of my all-star team. So Patty, she runs her own property management company. It's called PJ Hussey, and we work hand in hand. She manages all of my multifamily properties at the moment. Michael is our attorney. He's the one that drafts our operating agreements and makes sure that everything is on the up and up legally. Warren does our taxes. He's our CPA, and he's the one that, has helped me realize how to get to the position where I don't pay taxes. Just like you hear, Donald Trump and these wealthy real estate guys. Well, there's truth behind that. You buy enough real estate and it offsets your taxable income. And he is the man that's helped me figure out that master plan. Colin is one of our favorite brokers or agents that we work with, and he is the source of a lot of off-market deals that we buy. This deal specifically, he didn't bring to us, but he has actually helped advise me on some negotiating tactics. And Colin is a great guy to have in my pocket. Chris is one of our bankers. He is not providing the mortgage on this property, but we do have the checking account set up with First Bank. They've been a great partner for many years. Shane is one of our property inspectors, and Carrie owns the bookkeeping company that we do. And if you talk to Carrie, she will know that she will tell you that I am very anal on having clean books. It's one of the things that I like. So we talk a lot, and we make sure that the expenses are categorized in the right categories, and the numbers make sense. So she's been a great partner for many years as well. And, with us, PRS, we are local to Phoenix. So I live here. I've lived here since 2004, and I invest here. And, a lot of people, they can't invest in the place that they live. But I will tell you that I've got the best of both worlds here. It's a great place to live and a great place to invest. And having lived here for 20 years now, you get to learn what streets and what areas that make sense to invest in. and what areas just flat out don't. And so there's a lot of that intimate knowledge that I have from being here local. We're very hands-on. So by nature, I am a project manager. I love operations. I love being in the mix. And with my other company, we take care of all the renovation and maintenance stuff. It's really a nice asset to have if you're an investor, is having control of a construction crew, and operational efficiency. So we do a lot of stuff in-house. I've got vendors that do work on the side for me, and it's just turned out to be a really nice setup that we've got. So a little bit about my investment philosophy. It's not the same with everybody, and that's okay. But when I started investing, I lost my first house in the boom and bust of 2007 and 2008 in Phoenix. And so not only did I lose my house, I saw a lot of other people lose their houses, and I saw a lot of people go bankrupt. And what I realized is that a lot of that was due because people weren't buying for cash flow. They were buying for appreciation. They were buying properties they had no business owning and just hoping that it was going to appreciate. And it did for a period of time, and then it didn't, and then everybody got hurt. And so that's kind of shaped my investing nature. I'm quite conservative in what I buy. But through that, I've learned a lot of lessons. And so one of those is to be opportunistic in adverse markets. Right. And so if you talk to anybody in any market that's bought a property from 2009 to 2012 and they still own it, you know that they're doing pretty well. And it didn't really make a matter of what they bought. It was just a matter of timing. They got lucky. However, I also know that timing the market is well, it's a risk, and that's not my game. I like low risk. So I prefer the dollar cost average. I'm always buying and I'm never selling. Well, that's for my own portfolio. Right. And so you'll hear guys like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger say time in the market is more important than trying to time the market. And I take that to heart. It is a long game. And if you play that long game, it generally works out really well. The other thing is that I learned from the regret of older investors that I talk to. And there's two regrets that I hear over and over. One, they wish they never sold. And two, they wish they bought more. Okay. Otherwise, I look for low risk and high reward. And we'll get into that a little bit more in terms of what that means for me. But generally speaking, I'm looking for cash flow on day one or an easy path to cash flow with potential for capital appreciation, not the other way around. And then economically resilient, what we buy in multifamily and the type of properties that we buy, it's a need, it's not a want. And there are some certain supply limitations. So to me, that is really my investment philosophy wrapped up in a nutshell. So what makes us unique, the local experience that I talked about, definitely knowing this market, the ins and outs of it, our strategic approach, and the types of properties that we like to buy and the ones that we don't, and our mission driven. I mean, I'm really at a point to where I do this because I love what I'm doing. I want to share that with other people, and I also want to provide what's good for the community. So what's good for the community? Affordable housing. Why affordable housing? We're going to dig into that a little bit. To me, affordable housing is the safest place to put my money, honestly. It is always in need. There will always be a demand. It's not going to change. There will never be an oversupply of affordable housing. And so it is really just the no-brainer place to put your money into real estate. Some interesting stats here. There's only 24 low-income rentals for every 100 low-income households. And so when I say affordable housing, I am not doing designated affordable housing with the city, which comes with all kinds of red tape. Really, it's just, basic, safe, and affordable housing in areas that people want to live. And Phoenix is a place where there's a lot of pockets of it, but there's definitely not enough of it in general. Some of the benefits, there's definitely profit potential, right? And so we do minimal improvements. You don't have to over improve these properties. Safe and affordable, very basic. Recession resilience. So in a recession, times get tough. People downgrade where they're living, and that's not going to change. And safe and affordable housing will always be something in need. Community impact. Well, by doing this, we're doing good for the community, which makes me feel good. And there's benefits to that as well. and reduce vacancy rates. So generally, we're going to have higher occupancy. And if you've owned property, rental property in the past, you will know that one of the biggest expenses that you have over the long term is turnover. And so if you've got super high-end properties and you got people moving out every year and you're changing out tenants, that is a big expense that's unnecessary. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this property specifically. High level numbers, we're buying it at $110,000 a door, which puts it at 2.64 million. We're getting a 70% loan from the seller. And that means the down payment is just under 800,000. Total improvements and reserves is just under 300,000. So the total capital on this property to make this all work is going to be just a little bit over $1 million. And we've got a couple of options for our potential partners. So the investor equity split on this property is going to be 65% to the investors, and we're offering a 7% preferred return for people and investors or companies that invest a minimum of $250,000. And we also are allowing minimums of $50,000 investments. There's no preferred return, but the total equity split is 65%. And the reason we're doing that is, well, it makes sense to have fewer partners. I'm not the type of person that wants, 20, 30, 50 investors in a deal. So the fewer, the better. But there is always sometimes a need to round out and bring in some smaller investors. And so that is why we split it up. Okay, so looking at this property as a 5-year hold, we are estimating an average annual return of over 20%. These numbers are for the investors. This is not the property level. This is the 65% equity to the investors. So over 20% average annual return, internal rate of return, the IRR, which is very similar, but a slightly different calculation because it takes into account the time value of money, estimated right around 16.5, and the total cash on cash return, if we exit in 5 years, at about just over 9%. Okay. And then one other metric, that total ROI over 5 years, just under 65%. So if you were to invest $250,000 and this turns out to come out to be exactly how we projected, which never happens, it's always higher or lower, but if it turns out to be exactly how we projected, you would get your capital back, 250 plus this 162, which would be about a 65% ROI for you. Okay, different valuation models. At this price point, so I mentioned $110,000 a door. I don't know about you, but that is extremely rare to come across. You're not going to see it. So some ways that people value this type of property is on a per door basis. Generally, right now, the market in this area is calling for 125 to 150 a door, which would put the value in the low 3 millions. Cap rate right now, cap rates for this type of property are generally between 6 and 6.5%, which again puts the value in the low 3 millions. Gross rent multiplier is another metric that some people use. And again, that puts the value in the low 3 millions. No matter how you look at it, we're getting a very, very nice deal on this property. So the business plan for this, some key renovations. And what we're going to do is there's 4 buildings. There's 2 buildings that need new roofs. 2 other buildings have fairly new roofs. It also needs 13 new HVAC units and 2 mini splits. So that's a substantial cost that needs to be done. And other than that, we're going to do some minor improvements inside. Again, this is safe and affordable housing. So we're not putting in granite. We're probably going to keep the existing cabinets. My team will paint the countertops and paint the bathtubs with like an epoxy urethane. It looks brand new and phenomenal, but it's a fraction of the cost. We'll paint the cabinets, put on some nice little handles. Most of the flooring is going to stay. It's older tile, but it looks good and it works. Some of the flooring we might need to replace. And then basic things like there's some broken windows. We'll replace the glass, not the whole window. We're probably going to put on some sunscreens on the outside to dress it up. And we're going to put in some little front yard enclosures to accommodate pet owners, which are another source of income. Like I mentioned, the property is going to be 100% vacant when we close. And so that's going to help us get through this really quick. And then we're going to lease it up. We are anticipating the lease up to take about the construction and the lease up to take about 6 months, but we've budgeted for up to a 12-month period in the pro forma. So year one, we were actually factoring on 50% vacancy in the first 12 months, pretty conservative. And then the property strategy, our rent targets, which I'll get to in a little bit, are actually below average for the area. So we are ultra conservative in our numbers, and we're not trying to over improve a property in an area that needs affordable housing. So some things that gets me even more excited about this property, like I'm not already excited. The location, okay, just outside of Phoenix. There's a lot more information I'm going to share shortly about Phoenix and about Apache Junction, the value add potential, the economic resilience. Phoenix as a whole is an incredible place to be with your investment dollars, and then the high return potential considering the upside or the upfront discount that we're getting, the value that we're going to add, and what the market might do over time. Okay, so let's see. This is all kind of stuff that we've talked about before. Next slide. So a little bit more about the seller financing. I've negotiated some pretty incredible terms on this. In fact, I would pat myself on the back because it's rare, and you don't get this. So we've got 70% loan to value just with the seller, no banks, saves us money on upfront costs and all kinds of headaches. 5.5% interest rates. It's locked for 5 years. We have an extension where we have an option to extend for a year at only 0.5%, which generally an option to extend is going to cost a lot more. There's no prepayment penalties. So if this plays out like I hope, we're going to increase the value and the rates will continue to dip. And within 1, 2, maybe 3 years at the most, we'll refinance into a loan that's even more favorable. And then one other added benefit that's not even listed here is since there's 4 buildings and they're all individually parceled, I have added a term that allows us to sell off individual buildings if we choose to do so, and the seller financing will reduce in accordance with what we've sold. So we don't need to pay off the entire loan and refinance it if we choose not to. It just gives us one more exit strategy and a little bit more option. I love options, and that's what we've got. Why is he doing that? I get asked, why, how is this possible? Well, he's an 85-year-old man. He's got a very substantial portfolio. He doesn't need to cash out. And so he is starting to sell off his portfolio, and all the funds go into his trust, which is going to help his family and his kids and so on and so forth. Okay, vacant at closing. So again, it allows us to do all the work up front, no interruptions. What that means to us is that we can get it done quickly and at economies of scale. Okay, so if you go in and you're doing 1 unit at a time, waiting for tenants to move out, on the positive, you got cash flow while you're doing it, but on the negative, every time you send a guy out, it costs you more money. Okay, and so when we've got the whole property to ourselves, our guys can work quickly and efficiently with no delays. It's going to mean that the total project is going to cost us a lot less than otherwise. All right. Each building has a coin op, washer, and dryer. This one's out of order or whatever. 3 of the sets work. I think this is the one that we need to replace, but it's a nice setup. This is income that a lot of people don't plan on. And I like the coins. It's added income for a lot of my properties, and it adds up. If you noticed in the drive-by, it's all desert landscaping. There's no grass. And if you've ever owned an income property with grass, all your income goes to water that grass, and then to pay the guys to mow that grass, and then to pay those guys who mowed the grass and broke the irrigation heads to fix them. It's a never-ending cash flow killer. This is all rocks, very easy to maintain, no potentials with unknown water leaks. It's just got some nice trees for shade that need to be trimmed once a year or so. Each of the units is individually metered. So what that means is, well, it's less expense and less burden on us as the landlord. And it also means they're going to be a lot more conscious of how they use their AC units. If they're paying for the electricity, they're going to use their AC and heat a little bit less, which just means less wear and tear on our assets. Okay, so here is a map, and I will be honest with you, we stole this map because I thought it was good and we did not have time to recreate one. This map was created by the listing agents of this property, and this property is one of our, I would call it a comp, okay? Our property sits right about here, okay? So we're right in between a Fry's, right in between Walmart. This is very close. This property was an off-market deal, actually, and it was listed for $140,000 a door for 2-bedroom, 1-baths. Now, to remind you, we're getting ours for $110,000 a door. That property at $140,000 a door, I got some insider information. They had a couple of offers. One offer that they had was at $130,000 a door and change, a little bit higher, and they turned it down. And so what they did is they decided not to sell it right now. And why, you ask? Because, well, the rates are going down. And if you're a property owner right now and you see the rates going down, it generally means that, well, in the near future, a buyer is going to be able to afford a little bit more. So they're hoping that the prices are going to go up as the rates go down, which is common thinking in the multifamily apartment space. Anyway, location-wise, this is where it's at. Phoenix is over here. It's close to the 60, close to the 202. We've got a lot of retail stuff here. And actually, this map is not, there's a whole lot more that this map doesn't show. There's big businesses right down here in Mesa. Mesa is bringing a lot of big businesses here, and Mesa is starting to get very unaffordable. And so people are living up here in Apache Junction and working in Mesa. One other thing to mention is I have 2 other properties within a mile or so of this property in this area. So it's 23 units already, and we've got a team in place. We're familiar with it, and it just adds economies of scale for ongoing management and maintenance.
About a mile east, we have this build-to-rent community, upscale homes for lease.
So this is about 1 mile east of our property.
Tenants definitely are not on this level, but I think it goes to show that bigger developers believe in this area.
The day before this, I got hit with a rock on my windshield. Okay, so that's one property about a mile east, this 1-story build to rent. We don't have the same tenant base, but I'm just trying to show that this area is up and coming and it's in the path of progress.
3 blocks right to the west. Bottles open, now leasing. Another build-to-rent community. Definitely bringing in a little bit different of a tenant base that I'm looking for, but nonetheless, increasing rental values in the area.
Okay, and then I'm going to show you a little Google map here, street view. So I did the drive-by, right? That drive-by earlier came down here. Well, what I want to show you is this street, all right? And so number one, we've got the buildings here. It's not a dead-end street. You go up here and it opens up to kind of like a main, what do they call them, arterial or whatever street here. Look at this beautiful mountain view to the north. This is very common in Apache Junction. It's more of a rural setting, and it's not urban. It's quiet, and it's beautiful out here. There's more and more people moving out here because it's safe, affordable, and beautiful. Now, and there's no other houses really directly across the street. So when I first saw this property, I immediately looked over here and said, oh, it's a trailer park. There's a ton of them. It's a big property, and it's all, that's going to be our competition. But it's not. This is a 55 and up mobile home park. It's got amazing amenities. It's a really nice place to live. And 55 and up mobile home parks are very common in Apache Junction. There's a few of them around here, but it's not going to steal our tenant base. Why? These places are more expensive. They, number one, generally you got to buy the mobile homes. and then you're renting the land because they have association fees, and especially if they have community centers, it's pretty expensive. So these are going to cost a lot more than our apartments. And number two, these are all 55 and up. So we're not targeting 55 and up people in our community, in our property. However, it's very likely that we're going to steal residents that come look at these because we don't have stairs. And if you've ever been in a mobile home, you know they've got 3 or 4 stairs to get in. And you know, if you think about your parents or grandparents, you know, once they get to a certain age, they do not want stairs. So anyway, I thought it was pretty powerful to show that. I'm going to skip back here to the presentation. Sorry about that. All right. So a little bit about Phoenix for those of you that do not live here or aren't super familiar with Phoenix. Sometimes I take it for granted, but Phoenix is a great place to be and to invest. It really is. Population stats right now, there's just under 5 million people here, and it's projected to almost double by 2040. So that's huge. I don't have the apartment supply or housing supply stats in front of me, but I do know that a lot of the big players are expecting serious supply and demand imbalances, you know, in the future. Growth rate 4 times the national average. This is Phoenix as a you know, MSA. It's the largest city in Arizona, 5th largest city in the US, and the #1 city for manufacturing in the US, which is amazing. Manufacturing jobs they provide, you know, our tenants are the ones in those jobs. Median home price about 460,000 out here. And that's with the average interest rate at 6.5, 7. Right now, the supply and demand is tight. And residential is a little bit different than apartments, but generally speaking, there are more people than housing units right now. At the current moment, you know, there is some supply coming on the market. Nothing that I'm too concerned about that would compete against us. But then again, the next thing is housing has really like kind of hit the brakes. And so over the next year after this new supply comes out, there's expected to be another like amazingly horrible imbalance in supply and demand. But some things that I take for granted that I didn't even realize until I talked to out-of-state investors, but we are limited in the land that you can build on out here by a couple of big things. So they call it the valley out here, and we're surrounded by mountains, and you really just can't build too far. I mean, they built up in this mountain. This is the high-end part of Phoenix, but generally speaking, our city is confined by mountains, and so it can only spread so far. And we've got a lot of Native American land that we just can't build on because of the agreements between us and them. So those are natural supply limitations that a lot of other markets don't have. And then clearly building new, you know, anybody that's building new right now, they're building A-class stuff, high-end, luxury. So the new supply to affordable housing is just non-existent. Phoenix and Arizona in general is a great place for jobs and business. The last 12 months, 2.5% growth in jobs. And if you've been paying attention to the Fed lately, they're actually trying for the opposite. Our unemployment rate at 2.6% is lower than the national average here. The economy, we've got a lot of big businesses here. There's some that aren't even called out here, but we are a very business-friendly government, and the government keeps bringing businesses in. And when businesses want to grow and expand out here, it means more jobs. And when it means more jobs, it means more housing needs, and it's only good for us, right? But they are very, very pro-business. And then tourism and lifestyle, it's really just a good place to be. You know, the fall, the spring out here is amazing. We get a lot of snowbirds, a lot of seasonal activity. People come visit Scottsdale. There's a lot going on out here. We've got spring training. You know, the Super Bowl was here. So it's a great place to be, and people keep coming. So a few other things here of note. Median rent, 12 or 1750, which to me sounds high. Actually, we don't run apartments for this amount, but that's 12% below the national average. So as a whole, being the fifth largest city in the US, we are still very relatively affordable compared to where people are moving from, and it's welcome to them. Rent increases have gone up. They've leveled out a little bit. We're projecting them to level out for a little while and then go up again when the new supply stops hitting the market. But one of the big things that a lot of people, don't realize, or I took for granted, is the investor-friendly regulation. So if I have somebody that's not paying rent, I can have them evicted in 2 weeks. Sheriff's eviction, okay? And to give you an example of an alternative story, my wife has family in Albuquerque, New Mexico that have a rental property, and they've had a squatter there for 3 years, and they can't get him out because of the non-investor friendly laws out there. If you own investment property in California, you've probably experienced something similar. It's very state by state specific. Luckily, Arizona is very landlord friendly. Property taxes are lower here than most other markets. I know people that own property in Texas, and every year it seems like they have to sue the state in order to get their taxes back down to a reasonable amount. It's absurd. I couldn't imagine having to do that. In fact, I believe we actually have a cap on how much our taxes can increase, but generally speaking, they're extremely low. Our insurance costs are reasonable. Costs everywhere for property owners for insurance are increasing. But when you compare Phoenix insurance costs in Phoenix or Arizona, they are extremely reasonable compared to other markets because we don't have natural disasters. There's no hurricanes, there's no tornadoes. There's none of these storms that you get in Florida or California, the coastal markets, or even in the Midwest markets. So our insurance costs are reasonable. And it is one of the very few hybrid markets, is what I call it, where you can get both cash flow and appreciation. Okay. Generally, as a real estate investor, you're picking one or the other. You're investing, on a coast, and you're hoping on appreciation, and you're probably losing money until that happens on a monthly basis. Or you're investing in the Midwest and you're getting really high cash flow, but the property never really appreciates. Phoenix, now it's not easy to find, right? But Phoenix is one of the very few markets where that is possible. Infrastructure, this is still a fairly new city. Like, you drive around and the freeways are new, the streets are new, the housing communities are new. If you come from back east, it's going to feel like the whole city was built in the last 15 years. And it's cool. It's attractive to people that want to move here. There's a lot of big investors in town looking for long-term appreciation. And for the reasons that I just talked about, market resilience, we're bringing in new business or big businesses all the time. The population trends are going where they should be going for an investor. And there's just good fundamentals all around in Phoenix for a real estate investor. So let's talk about the submarket, Apache Junction. So Apache Junction is on the east side of Phoenix MSA. And if we look at this map, it's up here. Phoenix is over here. And some might say, well, it's a little bit on the outskirts, and it is for sure, but it's not as far as some of the other towns that are still booming. If you're local, and you're thinking about Maricopa or Buckeye or Goodyear, I mean, those are way further than Apache Junction, and they're brand new. Apache Junction is a cool little unique town that's got like old country charm, and development has just like grown close to it. So it's kind of like in a path of progress to where it's not overbuilt. There is some new development there, but it's not like going like crazy like some areas in Phoenix, but it's still affordable. They're building, well, there's plans to build this new freeway, which will connect it all the way down to the I-10 here, which will put it down closer to like Arizona City, Casa Grande, which further down here is Tucson. So there's a lot of redevelopment in the future that could definitely benefit Apache Junction. And again, it's really not that far. It's 15 minutes from the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport, which is kind of like right here. And it's 35 minutes if there's no traffic to Sky Harbor, which is our main Phoenix airport. There is some big redevelopment stuff going on there. Central Arizona College is doing a big expansion, and you know, it's the path of progress. Again, this is the same map we looked at, some other stats. Population growth is growing, but it's not overgrowing, which is good. Median age, like I mentioned, is kind of an old country. This is more rural. Well, it's a little bit up there. You know, it's in the 50s and 60s, which is, you know, it's the reason why people go out there. It's a little bit slower pace, beautiful mountain views, and the median income, $56,000. They need safe and affordable housing. So it's perfect, right? Some growth stats, it's seen a steady increase in population and growing 8% since the 2022 census. But again, it's seeing some supply and demand imbalance like the rest of the Phoenix market is. Median home price here was $400,000 in August of this year, 8% increase from the prior year, which some people might say that's not as much as Phoenix, but from 2023 to 2024 to see an 8% increase, I would say that that's pretty darn healthy. Top employers, like I mentioned, we're real close to Walmart and Fry's, the school district. There's a casino out there. But basically the local stores and businesses, they all have, you know, lower end workers that need safe and affordable housing. The newer developments, these are some interesting stats that we came across. Apache Junction is sixth out of the 41 Phoenix submarkets, so it's not overbuilt, but it's definitely not on the tail end. Seventh in the last 5 years, sixth this year, 21% growth, number of new units. So this, to me, shows me that bigger developers believe in the area, but the area is not being overdeveloped, and it's not going to be bombarded with new supply. Okay, so these are just some of the bigger projects. Now, these new developments, they're all building really nice stuff. These are not taking away from our tenant base. To me, they are only going to bring in a little bit more higher end people, promote some more development, and it's a testimony to companies with much bigger money believing in the area. Okay, so occupancy rates. If you look at this, the blue is Apache Junction, the gold is Phoenix. You know, it had a dip in 2023, but in 2024, the occupancy rates jumped up. Why do you think that is? It's getting tough for people to afford rent in Phoenix, and they're moving to areas like Apache Junction because they can get more bang for their buck. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. July 2024 was a 94% occupancy rate. I don't know what it was in Phoenix. Well, actually, it's a little bit lower, right? But definitely, as people are getting hurt with inflation and the current economy situation, they're gravitating towards areas like this. Rental rates. Again, this just shows the upward trajectory for Apache Junction. Year over year rolling. I had no idea this was a crazy stat. First out of 37 submarkets in Phoenix. Why do you think that is? I mean, people are hurting right now, and this is where they can go for affordable housing. Okay, so this gets down into the nitty gritty. This is pretty interesting. We've got 2-bedroom apartments. Okay, rental rate year over year change. Again, the blue is Apache Junction, had a dip in 2023, but now it's up here, ranked first out of 42 submarkets, 6% year over year change for rental rates of 2-bedroom apartments. And then this is just the average rental rate, okay, in general. So yes, if you buy a property in Phoenix, the rental rate is going to be higher in general than in Apache Junction. But as we can see, things are moving. More and more people are moving out here because of the need for safe and affordable housing. Okay, so along with these stats, you'll see up here, 2-bedroom average rental rate at $1,724. This is in Apache Junction, the submarket. Okay, and this is our target comps right here. This is our target rents and our comps. All right, and so when I say that we analyze this deal conservatively, this is a prime example. So after our improvements, the 300,000 or so that we're going to do, it's going to be less than that, but the improvements that we're going to make, we're targeting a $1,200 a month rent for the smaller 2-1 and $1,300 for the larger one. Okay, this is compared to an average rental rate of 1724. Now, what might happen is we might actually get a lot more, but we want to make sure that we fill it up fast and we keep high occupancy rates. But once we get it in, it'll allow us to, once we get the tenants in year over year, it'll allow us to continue bumping the rents a little bit higher if the market supports that. And so it's only upside from there. And then to support that, because these 2 bedrooms, these factor in a lot of the newer ones, like the 2 videos that I showed where you drive by. Well, those 2-bedroom units are like, you know, $2,000 to $2,500. And so this average is a little bit skewed. These are my specific comps that I looked at for similar quality. Okay, some a little bit nicer, some a little bit worse. The average is $1,339 for a 2-bedroom. And again, our average is going to be $1,250. And then for the studio comps, our average came in over $1,000 and we're targeting $950. So just a little bit more about how conservative we look at things. And when we're this conservative on this property at this purchase price, we're still able to deliver an average annual return to our investors over 20%. Hopefully it's going to be a lot more. Okay. So that about wraps it up. Let me talk about what the next steps might look like if you are interested. Well, before we get to that, what you get with PRS, well, you get expert financing and deals. I have already curated this deal. It's under contract. It's a done deal. It's moving forward. You don't have to deal with any of that. I've secured all the financing, the terms. This is ready to go. Comprehensive management, me and my management company, we handle everything, my team in place. Local market, I've done all the research. It's right there. You've seen it. This is a great place to invest. It's where I put my money. It's probably where you should put your money too. Streamlined administration, the bookkeeping, the paperwork, you know, it's all handled, and dedicated oversight, right? So why me? What do I do differently than other people? Clearly, there's other people that are in this business. Like I mentioned, I invest with other people that do this, and I know a lot of other people that do this. And I've learned kind of what works and what doesn't. And what you might find with a lot of other people in this space is that right now they're over leveraged. A lot of people that are doing this, they went too strong in the last run up. They've got loans that are coming due. They need to be refinanced and the properties aren't worth it. They're in distress right now. There's a lot of people that have been buying properties that really have not experienced a bad market. And although I'm a young 42 years old, I started in the last boom and bust. I saw it firsthand. And so I have none of that right now. A lot of guys, this is their main business. And so they're financially dependent. They get paid for doing deals. And so they need to keep doing deals. I have other businesses and ventures that pay my bills. I do this because I want to, not because I need to, right? And then I find that a lot of guys that do this, they're just marketers. They're really good at marketing. Frankly, I hate marketing. I don't even want to be here right now, but I have to. But they're not great real estate operators. I'm a deal guy. I'm not a marketer. So for me, I've been investing my own money, buying properties just like this for 15 years. I know what works and I know what doesn't. You know, I'm focused on long-term wealth. I've flipped homes before, but I'm not a flipper. I would rather hold very long because that's where the real money is made. The real money is made in the waiting, not in the buying and the selling. I have no over-leveraged properties. Right now, my overall portfolio loan to value is probably 45%. Okay, so I'm in a very, very safe place as a real estate investor. I have direct control over the renovation crews. I've been through the boom and bust. My bills are covered by other ventures, and this is my spot. This is my territory, my sandbox. I'm a local expert. Okay, I'm not flying out to another market and trying to set up a new team, which a lot of other operators do. So I get it. This is not for everybody. Okay. And it's okay if you don't want to participate in this deal. But if you want some good returns in a good market and you don't need cash flow year one, this might be for you. Okay. No cash flow year one because of the whole renovation and lease up strategy. Cash flow should start year two. All right. If you want to partner with somebody like me, that's boots on the ground, knows the ins and outs of the market, already got a team in place, I'm in it for the long haul, and you've got the money to invest, you want a low risk place to put your money, and you want to partner, then it might be for you. And if that's the case, well, this is the next step. We've got a really slick investor portal where, well, once you're invested, you'll be able to track your returns and see your investment in this property and any other properties you're in. You can see the cash flow distributions, and it's pretty sweet. So first step is to create a login on that, and you can do what's called a soft commitment. Okay. Now, soft commitment is just what it's called. It's a soft commitment. Now, I will say that before this webinar, I have already been putting feelers out, and I've got a number of people ready to go on this deal. Some people that have actually expressed interest in funding the entire thing. So if you have any interest at all, do a soft commitment today. I can always take you out and replace your capital. But if you wait too long and then you decide that you want to get in, you're probably not going to be able to. So just go ahead and do a soft commitment. And as I weed through everything, I will do my best to get everybody participating that wants to in it. But the likelihood of this, getting you in a week or so is very slim. So if there's any interest at all, just make a soft commitment. And then after that, once we get closer to it, the legal paperwork goes through the portal. You can review it and sign it. And then after that, you fund it. Okay. So we don't need your money now. If you're interested, let's just make a soft commitment. And this is how you do that. This QR code right here, scan that with your phone. It'll take you directly to the investor portal where you can do just that. It's just a few clicks of your phone to make a soft commitment. If you have more questions and you're not quite sure, you can scan this to set up a call with me. I will tell you that it just so happens that this week I am absolutely slammed with calls already. If for some reason you can't get on my calendar this way, you're welcome to shoot me a text or an email, and maybe we can just do a quick little impromptu call, or maybe set up an after hours call. This is our time commitment. So with every real estate deal, time is of the essence. All right. These are our deadlines. Soft commitments due the 20th. That's this Friday. It's coming up. You've got a few days, but the reality is if you wait till the 20th, we might already be filled up. Okay. This is the absolute deadline. Funding will be due by October 4th, and then we're closing on the 18th. We may be looking to close sooner than this, but this is the date that we've got right now. So again, this is the QR code. Scan this to go ahead and submit your soft commitment. And other than that, I think that's it. I'm really excited about this property, and I'm looking forward to something cool, and I hope you join me for the ride. All right. Very good. Okay. Thank you. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.